about the stability of the vertebral column. It is a very nice topic. If we understand, it is very easy also. So stability. Stability means what? Stability means what? Whatever the activities will do at final, the spinal cord mean vertebral column should come to neutral position. It should not go for further damage. That is nothing but stability. So here, vertebral column has to face axial compression force and bending force and torsion force and shear force. So these are all the forces vertebral column has to face it. Not only during movement. Even though vertebral column in the rest, even though vertebral column VC, okay, even though VC in the rest, it has to face all these four forces according to the resting position. And at the same time, according to the resting position, at the same time, suppose if you take axial compression force, how much force, and how much duration it is acting on the vertebral column, and how much, what is the position, and what is the position, on which position of the body it is acting, if the patient is in standing position or sitting position or lying position. So according to the positioning of the patient, and how much duration of the compression, and how much weight, how much compression, either 10 kg compression or 100 kg compression, depends upon so many factors. And at the same time, age of the patient, what is the age of that patient, either 20 or 40. And at the same time, body structures means how is his vertebral body, how is his intervertebral disc, how is his facet joints, depends on so many factors. The stability of the vertebral column will change. So first we'll see what is this axial compression. Okay, so what is this axial compression means? Suppose if the force or compression, if the force or axial force or compression is acting on the VC, vertebral column, directly. Suppose this is our cervical region, thoracic region, lumbar region, sacral region, and coccyx. Okay, this is cervical. So this is our VC. Here I am taking one example. Okay, L3 and L4. These two vertebrae I am taking, L3 vertebra and L4 vertebra. So now you see, suppose I have kept 20 kg weight on the top of this patient head. Okay, now top of this patient head. So this is external force. It is going to give a compressive force. It is going to give, this weight will come down. Why it will come down? Because of the gravity and ground reaction force. The gravity is going to pull this weight. When it is going to pull down, so here between these two vertebral bodies we are having intervertebral disc. This is the nucleus pulposus, annulus fibrosus. Here will be having vertebral end plates. Suppose if you take one vertebra, superior vertebral end plate, inferior vertebral end plate. So for this vertebra, for L4 vertebra, this is superior vertebral end plate, this is inferior vertebral end plate. So suppose one example, if there is no force here, still gravity is going to pull the body, so that always vertebral column will be axial compression force. If the patient is lying on bed, that time there is no compression force. If the patient is sitting or standing or running, whenever, all the times, this axial compression force will be there on the vertebral column. It will always pull the person downward. So that's why compression force will be there on the vertebral column. Okay, now we'll come to the point. So 20 kg weight is there. So what will happen? That weight from cervical spine, it will come to thoracic spine. From there it will come to lumbar spine. Okay, the mechanism what we are going to see here, it will happen from cervical to the lumbar spine. So here 20 kg weight. So here 20 kg weight, that compression force came here. So once it comes here, from here it will transfer to the here, trabecular system will be there. So that force will come to the trabecular system. Axial mean exact point will start from here. Okay, I will tell. So still our force is not entered. Okay, from here it is entered to a trabecular system. Now it is started. Now our point is started. Okay, it will come to the superior vertebral end plate. It will come. After that, it will enter into the nucleus pulposus. After that, because of this compression force on nucleus pulposus, this is our nucleus. Because of this compression force on the nucleus pulposus, this nucleus pulposus is going to become like this because of the compression force. So after this what will happen? The size of the nucleus pulposus will increase because of this compression. The round ball shaped structure of the nucleus will become like this. So that nucleus will going to spread like this. When it is spreading like this, it is going to give pressure on the annulus fibrosus. Annulus fibrosus, it will give that force. At the same time, behind the this nucleus pulposus, which structure we have? Here vertebral end plate, superior vertebral end plate of L4 vertebra. So it is going to come to the superior end plate of the L4 vertebra. So it will come here. So because of the compression force from the L3 vertebra, first it came to inferior vertebral end plate of the L3. After that, it entered into the intervertebral disc. Because of this force, the disc is going to be deformed. Like this. Once it is deformed, then the compression force is shifted to the both annulus fibrosus. At the same time, it's superior end plate of the L4 vertebra. After this, from superior end plate, again it will transfer into the trabecular system. Of the L4 vertebra. Even though it is entering into the trabecular system of the L4 vertebra, most of the compressive force is maintained by the cortical bone, that is, which is we can see outside. So most of the compressive force will be taken by the cortical bone. Okay, after that, so here trabecular system and cortical bone is taking the compression weight. So again here we will be having L5 vertebra. Between here again we will be having intervertebral disc. So from here again this trabecular system and this cortical bone, again it will come to here, it will enter into the intervertebral disc. From here again it will enter into the L5 vertebral trabecular system. From here again it will enter into the sacrum. Finally from sacrum it will enter into the lower limb. So here if this is sacrum, here will be having SI joint, sacroiliac joint. From ilium, so this is our hip bone. From hip bone it will enter into the hip, this is hip joint. From hip bone it will enter into the hip joint. So finally the weight what you kept here, it came to cervical, thoracic, lumbar. From lumbar all these things and all happen. Then it will come to sacrum. From sacrum to the SI joint to the hip bone to the acetabulum to the hip joint. From hip joint again it will come down. So this is the axial compressive force because of this structure deformation, because of this disc deformation. This how it is going to happen, disc deformation and trabecular system. Suppose if you see trabecular system, this I am saying about body of the vertebra. So here we are having trabecular system. This is our disc. So when the load came here, the trabecular system will go for deformation. And disc will go for deformation. And here which structure will see? Vertebral end plate. Vertebral end plate will go for deformation. Deformation nothing but, suppose if one structure is there. If deformation nothing but, simply I will go very simply. Suppose if we take one cup. So inside cup will be having water. Suppose if we keep one ball inside the water, what will happen? There is like ripples will happen inside the water. So what deformation means? There is a temporary change in the structure of the thing, is nothing but deformation. So here temporarily, because of this axial compressive force, the body of the vertebra, here trabecular system will go for compressive deformation, disc will go for compressive deformation, here vertebral end plates will go for compressive deformation. After removal of load, after removal of this load, what will happen? Disc will come back to normal position, trabecular system will come back to normal position, vertebral end plate will come back to normal position, then everything will become like set right. So this is nothing but the axial compressive force of the vertebral column. Okay. Here we'll see two special points. Okay, because of the compression force, always compressive force will. So suppose one individual is there, or if he is in the ground, if he is in the floor, always compressive force, gravitational force will be there. So that's the reason. If the patient if he wake up morning from the bed, his height will be more compared to that day night, compared to that day evening. So what it means, morning time height will be more, evening time height will be less. What is the reason? Means morning time height is more, means throughout night he was not under axial compressive force. So that's why the discs which are present between the bodies of the vertebra are in proper length. Okay, there is no deformation in the disc. So that's why the length of the vertebral column will be more, because of the length of the vertebral column mean here more. So that's why height will be more. If the same patient, if he come to evening means from morning 6 to evening 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, completely axial compression. So always gravitational force will pull him. Because of that gravitational force, the disc which will go for deformation. So the size of the disc will reduce. Because of that reason, evening time his height will be less. And one more time, this is very crazy example. If we do running continuously means one day, 2 day, not like that. If we do running for 10 years or 5 years, if we are keep on doing running, that time what will happen? Height of the patient will reduce very fast, because of the disc will go for complete compression force. So because of that, height of the person will be less if he is doing running. Okay, it's just like a normal, if we want to observe, suppose if we measure our height around 6 a.m. Okay, we measured our height. Okay, it came something, okay, 5.6 or something, 5.6 something it came. After 2 hours of running, 8 o'clock, if you measure your height compared to this height, here there is a pakka reduction of the height, because of the 2 hours axial compression on the vertebral column. It is going to reduce the height of that person. Okay, and one more point, see, astronauts, so who will enter into space? If they go to space, in the space there is no earth gravitational force. So because of that, their height will be more. So this is one more point. And third point, because of the age, if the age is more than 50 or 45 years, so because of the age, there is a structural changes, nothing but degeneration will happen in the body of the vertebra and vertebral disc. Otherwise, intervertebral disc will happen and vertebral end plates. So there is a degeneration will happen according to the age, due to the age in this structure. Because of these things also, height of the vertebra will decrease. So this is about the axial compressive force. Okay, next we'll see. Second force, bending. So second one, bending. In this, suppose if you take, this is one vertebra, so here this is one vertebra. Here these vertebrae are in neutral position. Imagine this is anterior, this is posterior. Okay, here we'll be having intervertebral disc, here we'll be having intervertebral disc. So here we'll be having arch of the vertebrae, transverse, spinous. Okay, these are neutral vertebrae. Suppose if we are taking one more vertebra, okay, vertebra we'll see. Okay, bending force means here bending will having two bendings, either flexion of the vertebra or extension of the vertebra. So these are the two possible bendings will happen on the vertebra. Suppose if we take one vertebral column, so here this is anterior. Okay, so here we'll take, this is anterior, this is posterior. Suppose if it is coming to flexion, if the vertebral column is coming to flexion, what will happen? Anterior. So all the anterior surfaces, mean anterior side vertebra will go for compression, and posterior side vertebra will go for distraction. Okay, nothing but tensile force. nothing but tensile force. Tensile force means if suppose one object will be there, if we give like this two forces, then the length of the object will increase, that is tensile force. So here if the patient is doing forward flexion, then anterior side of the structures will go for compression. Which structures will be there anteriorly? Suppose if we take vertebra like this, so here body of the vertebra will be anteriorly, and half portion, almost full, not half, full portion of the intervertebral disc, and here it is there vertebral end plates, and which ligament is present here? Anterior longitudinal ligament. So all these structures at the same time, which muscles will cause this flexion? Abdominal muscles, abdominal muscle. So here when we are doing this movement, abdominal muscles, anterior longitudinal ligament, body of the vertebra, vertebral end plate, IVD, all these structures will go for compression. All these structures will go for compression at the same time. When we mean in same, here it is becoming compressive force. Here tensile force will generate. Tensile force will generate. Where tensile force will generate? So here we'll take tensile force will generate over the, here we are having arch of the vertebra. So here spinous process, transverse, and fascia joint. So here tensile force will happen at the fascia joints. It will happen, okay. And posterior longitudinal ligament, interspinous ligament, intersupraspinous ligament, and ligamentum flavum. All these structures at the same time. Fascia joint ka capsules, fascia joints ka capsule, and extensor muscles. So in all these structures, here backside, here this is posterior, this is anterior. No, so in this posterior, all these structures will go for distraction. So here length of these structures will increase. Suppose if the patient is doing more flexion, because of the lengthening of this posterior structures, these the lengthened posterior structures are going to restrict the further movement. So that by this mechanism, the restriction mean the lengthening mechanisms here, these are going to stop the furthermore flexion movement in bending activities. It is same reverse for extension. If the patient is doing extension, suppose if the patient is anterior, this posterior, if the patient is doing extension, that time, so posterior structures will go for compressive force, anterior structures will go for tensile force. So here compressive force will happen at the posterior structures, fascia joints, posterior longitudinal ligament, infraspinous ligament, supraspinous ligament, interspinous ligament, supraspinous ligament, and ligamentum flavum, fascia capsule, extensor muscle. So all these structures will go for compressive force, and anteriorly body of the vertebra, vertebral end plate, intervertebral disc, anterior longitudinal ligament, they will go for tensile force. So while doing extension, because of the tensile force, I mean stretching of the anterior structures, the stretched anterior structures are going to restrict the further extension movement. So by restricting the further extension movement here, all the structures are going to maintain the bending stability of the vertebral column. So this is about bending stability, okay. So now the third force, it is a torsion. Torsion means what it means. Suppose if we take one vertebra, here and one more vertebra. So this is a few vertebrae side. What is this torsional force means? It is like a rotatory force. Okay. So when the patient is doing rotation movement and lateral flexion movement, while doing these two movements, there is a possibility for this torsional forces. So here when the patient is doing, suppose this is our vertebral column, if the patient is doing, this is right side, this is left side, okay. If the patient is doing left side, see like this, if he turn his body like this, so this body, okay, these are lower limbs, okay, it's just looking for lower limbs. So he turn body like this, so that time here he is doing completely rotation movement. When the patient is doing rotation movement, that time there is a chance for the production of the torsional forces. So which structures will provide stability over these torsional forces means the structures which are going to provide stability in this torsional force means fascia joint. First one fascia joint, body of vertebra, especially in the cortical bone. Of the vertebra of the intervertebral disc, in this annulus fibrossus, and orientation of the fascia joint, and at the same time capsules of the fascia joint. So these four are the key structures. They are going to provide the support, provide the resistance. They are going to provide the resistance for the further rotation of the vertebra. So by providing resistance, this resistance is going to stop the further rotation. So it is going to maintain the torsional. These structures are going to maintain the torsional stiffness. Nothing but we can say like a normal structure. So these structures are going to maintain the torsional stiffness of the vertebral column. Torsional stiffness, nothing but it is going to maintain the from torsional force. These structures are protecting the vertebral column. So that is nothing but torsional stiffness. One more time I am repeating. These structures are going to save the vertebral column. These structures are going to protect the vertebral column, from the torsional stiffness. So this is about the torsional force. Last force is there. We will see. This is the last force. It is a shear force. What is the shear force means? Suppose if we take one vertebra here, one more vertebra, so we took three vertebra. So here imagine this is anterior, this is posterior, okay, anterior posterior. First here we will come to the point here which structures we are having here. Vertebral end plate we are having here. Intervertebral disc, this is the body of the vertebra. Apart from that, here we will be having anterior longitudinal ligament. Here we will be having posterior longitudinal ligament and supraspinous ligament and here if we take, okay, here interspinous ligament, and here we'll be having ligamentum flavum, and in between transverse plus we'll be having intertransverse ligament. So these are all the ligaments we are having, these are all the ligament structures we are having, and here we'll be having facet joints ka capsules we are having. So these are the structures. So shear force means what it means, if we take two objects, one force will come in one direction, one force will come in one direction. So because of these two forces, what will happen, there is a movement will happen like this, there is a movement will happen like this. So this is the shear force, this is the shear force. So when these kind of shear forces are acting on the vertebral column, which structures are going to provide stability to the vertebral column? Okay, so that's the point. Suppose here L3 vertebra is there, here L4 vertebra is there, here L4 vertebra is there. So one force is coming in this direction, one force is coming in this direction. So when L3 is going forward, what will happen? So here anterior longitudinal ligament will stretch. Okay, anterior longitudinal ligament will stretch. At the same time here posterior longitudinal ligament, here posterior longitudinal ligament and supraspinous ligament, interspinous ligament, then ligamentum flavum. After that here IVD, intervertebral disc. After here will be having what is the structure? Capsule of the facet joint, So all these structures are going to protect this forward movement. At the same time, the stretching of the ALL, anterior longitudinal ligament, is going to play a key role, with the help of IVD, intervertebral disc, so that this shear force will be protected here. Okay, if we come to this side, when it is doing like this, when one force is coming like this, again all the structures which are present here, these all structures will go for stretching, length will increase. So that time, especially PLL and facet joints and supraspinous ligament, interspinous ligament, and ligamentum flavum. So these structures are going to protect. This director force on this vertebra. So it is nothing but it's a united action. It is nothing but united action by the only structures. United action by the body of the vertebra. This one structure, and vertebral end plate, and intervertebral disc, and anterior longitudinal ligament, posterior longitudinal ligament, interspinous ligament, supraspinous ligament, ligamentum flavum, and facet joints, capsules, and orientation. So these are the structures we can see. Whatever the forces, either axial compression, bending force, shear force, torsion force, whatever the forces are acting on the vertebra, finally vertebra are having these structures. So whatever the forces act on the vertebra, these structures has to support one on each other. Otherwise, there is no stability for the vertebral column. So that in this mechanism, the vertebra is going to be in the stable position. Okay, suppose this is the last point. Here we'll be having axial compression, bending forces, torsional forces, and shear force. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in these four forces, if the vertebral column structures are fail to provide the stability, what will happen? Fracture may happen at the bone. And herniation or bulge will happen at the disc. It will happen. Fracture at the facet joint. There is a tear at the ligaments. If the structures are failed to provide stability for the vertebral column, why they are failing is because of the more force. Why structures will fail? Because of the more force, either axial compression, bending, whatever. If any force is giving more force, if the structures of the vertebral column can't able to resist that force, that time it may go for fracture, disc problems, facet joint fractures, or tear of the ligaments. Okay, this is about stability of the VC.